Mega Meeple, the show all about gamers and the games that bring them together. I'm your host, Thom, and I want to thank you for hitting that download button. Now, if you like what you hear, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And while you're there, leave us some kind words and put out some of that 5-star loving, okay? We'd really appreciate that. And I promise I'll call you in the morning. Now, if you have any ideas or suggestions of what you want to hear about, or maybe a topic of discussion about the board games, now you can contact us through our website. It's www.themegameeple.com, and go to our social media page. All the links to our pages like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. You know all the ones. Okay, it can be found there at our social media page. And now you can also hear the podcast on our YouTube channel, as well as some unboxing videos, as boring as they are, but evidently unboxing videos is a thing, so I do them. Oh well. And you can also see some reviews of games and gaming accessories, and the link to that is also on our social media page on the website. Alright, welcome back to the Mega Meeple. This is episode 14. And things are starting to get back to normal at the old Mega Meeple homestead. I actually was able to get some games played this past week, albeit in our little tiny coffee table that we have in the living room. But we got to play some games. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. But so one thing that's going on this weekend is, at least locally, we have a local con that goes on. That's going on this weekend called Mega Moose, and it is right across the border into in Richburg, South Carolina. And it's at the Gateway Conference Center there. And it's about 3 days or so of people getting together and doing, just open board games, RPGs, card games. Some people hosting some tournaments there. And at least locally here, it's kind of regarded as a pre-GenCon prep. So there's some people there that, has some decks they want to check out or try out in the tournaments that's going to be done at GenCon, or they have some X-Wing squad that they want to make some final adjustments and testing on before they play it at GenCon. So and then it's just general open board gaming and demos and not only does people go to this con in preparation for their attendance and playing them at GenCon, but there's also people to go to this thing locally just to have a relaxed, more casual, open board game environment and atmosphere, because there's no miles long of lines, and you don't have to walk miles and stuff like that and be on your feet the whole time. And with things like MooseCon here locally, and even some of the other local cons that are held here, Carolina Con and Mace and so forth, it's just good to meet up with some friends that are around the area that you don't always have opportunity to have over your house or meet up at the game store. And that's one of the advantages of at least in the area that I live in, that within a good hour's drive, you could go to at least a half a dozen different friendly local gaming stores. The weekend of GenCon, I will be going over my top picks of the games that are being released at GenCon. Either released or at least demoed and showcased at GenCon. and I'll be going over my picks of what I'm looking forward to coming out of that conference. So what have we been playing this past week? Well, I was able to show my roommate, Mystic Vale. Now, this is my friend that I mentioned in a previous episode where he's not too keen on card games, but he was intrigued about the whole card crafting mechanic of Mystic Vale. So he played that, and he really enjoyed it. And I also, we got out Terraforming Mars and played a game of that. Now, of the times that I played Terraforming Mars, up until then, I had only played the solo variant. So I had to kind of refresh my memory of the rules and the mechanics, and we had to go through the rule book a few times to try to make sure we were getting all the dynamics of the game down. But it was good. It was a long game. It was about 3 hours, but my roommate enjoyed it so much that later on, like the following day or so, while I was out, doing my stuff, he had broke out the game and played at least one or two games solo, just trying it on his own. That he liked it so much. So the next step is to get his girlfriend onto Mystic Vale and Terraforming Mars, because we think that she'll really like those games as well. So we are getting some new games at, and a friend of ours came over one night, and he brought a game over called Epic Spell Wars, and we played a few rounds of that, and that was pretty neat. That was a little quirky game, but I enjoyed it. The artwork on it is pretty humorous. Even the names of the different aspects of the spell that you're casting, you string all those things together and you make a really funny named spell. And some of the artwork, if you play it with children, you may want to take a few cards out. Unless you want to be explaining to your children why a particular picture is showing something. So it's not. I mean, it's not rated R or anything. I would call it rated PG-13 with some of the artwork. But it was a fun, quirky game. Our Pathfinder group had our second session of the Emerald Spire campaign. I recorded our first session, and then I had to miss the second one, or what they called session 1.5. I think what they basically did was a side quest. So I was not available that night, so I did not get that on tape. But we went through the second session of Emerald Spire. We had that over at the place that I used to live, that I just moved from. And the cool thing is the couple that I was staying with before I moved just recently into my current new apartment, they got a brand new gaming table, and it's a monster. It's a huge. They call it the Tablezilla, and it is a huge table, and I'm kind of a little kind of jealous, but it's like, wow, geez, why did you guys buy that when I was living with you? I appreciate it. So no, but I'm excited too, because we got some cool things coming up in the future. We're going to be getting a gaming table pretty soon. In fact, I have 2 interviews coming up soon. One with a brand new gaming table company that has a Kickstarter coming out later on this month. I will have that interview. That's already been recorded, and I will have that interview out at the time that the Kickstarter comes live. And I also have an interview setting up soon. Still have to record it, but we're working on scheduling. But it's a local gaming furniture company that does gaming tables, and where we'll have an interview with the 2 owners of that company as well, just talking about gaming tables and what is available. I think you'll find that each each of those two companies has a unique approach to how they design the gaming tables and how they build them, and basically, I mean, each one is targeting a specific audience, and without getting too much into direct competition. So stay tuned for those interviews coming up. Yeah, I even posted a photo of it on the Mega Meeple Facebook page and Instagram. I think I tweeted it out too. So if you want to see this Tablezilla, this massive gaming table that my friends got, just and you can go to our website on a social media page and just click on the Facebook or the Instagram or the Twitter, and you'll be able to see a photo of that gaming table. It's a beauty. Well, I got some happy news on the Stop Thief Kickstarter. The app is now available. It was initially, they launched it first on Google and Amazon, and then maybe like a day or two later, it was available on Apple devices and iOS. So downloaded that, and that means hopefully that the actual game is going to be on my front doorstep here very shortly. So I'm looking forward to that, and obviously we'll have a review of that on the website, and we'll also do a video of that for our YouTube channel as well. So keep a lookout for that. But yeah, we got to play the Emerald Spire second session, and I recorded that. So, and again, I'm still kind of undecided about whether I'm going to release these things as episodic podcasts. But if I do, I'll break it down into like an hour-long episode, and that would, for the amount of time and recording that I have right now, just raw recording. A 1 hour episode, I have enough raw audio to put together at least 6, maybe 7 episodes right off the bat, because each of our sessions is about average about 4 hours long. Count 5 hours with all the non sequiturs and tangents and all the other things that we go off on talking about in the middle of the session. It's just one of those things that you gotta hear to appreciate. And then I started last weekend. My new roommate is a GM for a Savage World campaign that he holds every Saturday night at a local game store here. So I dropped in and started playing with that group, and it's a campaign that they've had going for quite a while. And we just kind of like wrote it in, like my character has been with them the entire time, but it's pretty neat. It's part of the Savage World Weird Wars. So right now we're on a mission in the Alps to rescue somebody. I forget I forget the person's name or what his rank is or what part of this character plays in the story. But I'm their medic or their healer, because we know at one point the person that's playing their healer now is going to have to stop playing soon. She's going to be going off to college. So I thought, well, that would be a easy one to pull into and just take over as the medic healer once she goes off to college and is no longer available to play. And I have another shout out to do. I forgot to do this last week or last episode just because I was just too darn tired with moving stuff. But I didn't forget this time. I made note of it. So a few episodes ago, we celebrated that I had my very first iTunes review and 5-star rating. Well, about 2 or so weeks ago, I had my second iTunes review and 5-star rating. And this is by someone called The Wifey. His comment is rockin', 5 stars. And his review says, first one I listened to got me hooked, and I got to rock out at the same time. So evidently this person is talking about my bumper music that I use in between my little topics and segments. So yeah, so the Wifey, shout out to them, or who, I don't know if it's a he or she. I'm assuming it's a she, the Wifey. But if it's not, hey, shout out to you, the Wifey. Thank you so much for your review and your rating. And if you'd like to leave me a 4 or 5-star rating and a happy review, talk some good stuff about me in the podcast, I really appreciate it on iTunes. And once you do, I will give a shout out to you as well. So just go to the iTunes Mega Meeple podcast page, and there's a link to that on the social media page on our website as well. Welcome back to the Mega Meeple, and we got another interview this episode, and this is from a successful Kickstarter, and it got 490 backers at the beautiful tune of about little over $35,500. So be looking for this little gem to come out to your grubby little hands if you're a backer. It's slated to be released and sent out around February 2018. But we have Justin Potter of Kazoodoo Games, and he's going to talk about the Glyph game. Justin, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Thomas. Thanks for asking. And thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. And then congratulations on a successful Kickstarter.
Thank you. It's very exciting to be where we're at now.
It says in the description of the game, it's a dice manipulation and along with cards. And one of the things that I like about that is anytime you deal with dice, you're dealing a lot of the luck factor. And right. Invariably, there are dice out there that just hate people. So if you could kind of have some kind of level of control over what those dice tell you what to do. But anyway, so Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long you've been gaming? What kind of games do you like? That type of thing.
Sure. Kind of my background. I've done a lot of e-commerce and marketing. It's kind of been my background for the past 6-8 years. And I've been in board games ever since I was a kid, but they were your more typical Monopoly or Stratego, and whatnot. And then I started getting a little bit more when I was a teenager. I was introduced to Axis and Allies. I've always been kind of a strategy gamer. Those have always kind of been the most appealing to me. And then it just kind of fell off for a good decade or so. And then more recently, probably in the past 6 years, I started getting back into board games. I would say my catalyst was Small World. That was kind of the first of the more modern, I guess you could say, kind of in this golden age that I feel we're in, especially with Kickstarter and everything. And when Kickstarter came along, I thought it was just a fantastic opportunity with me being, in marketing and e-commerce. Just kind of that entrepreneurial spirit just kind of like hit me at just the right spots. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is perfect. people have ideas, they can put them out there, and people can back them. And so I was backing projects, and then kind of started getting into board games and realizing that games have come quite a long way since my childhood of games like Stratego and whatnot. So it kind of opened up my eyes, and here I am now looking at my shelf of over 100 board games that I've got, and it's becoming a monster, but it's my pet monster, so it's all right.
It's your baby monster.
It's my baby monster. Yeah. But definitely a passion for the strategy type games have always kind of had a special place for me.
That's good. And me interviewing people, what I'm finding is it's incredible that people have been involved in games ever since they were kids, and a lot of times there's this season or so of life that they just stopped gaming for whatever reason, life. But invariably, in the end, they always go back to it. There's something that draws them back in, and just that love of gaming and socializing, and just being, as I go into a movie, just getting away from life for a while, just to go on an adventure and have fun.
Right. No, absolutely. And for me, games in general, whether it is a board game or a video game or whatnot, I like the interactive aspect. I love film. Film is a big part of what I do these days, and but I like being able to have control. That I'm the actor, so to speak. I'm the one controlling the meeple, or I'm controlling the dice, or whatever it may be, and getting to kind of influence and come up with the story how I want it to be.
Right.
And so that interactive part of gaming, and I think you keyed on something huge that kind of, I think, was a big draw to me with board games in particular, as far as all entertainment or gaming is concerned, is that social aspect where you can get a group of friends or family, sit around the table, and you can play a game, and you're interacting with them. You can be talking about your day, or if it's a heavy strategy game, a lot of times I'm just so focused in on the game that kind of gets put to the wayside. But just being in that same room, I think, adds something more than just talking to somebody over the internet. So
yeah, definitely. So, all right. Well, tell us about sort of like the early days of Glyph. How did you come up with the idea? How many versions did you have to go through before you got the final product done?
Oh man, quite a few. So Glyph kind of came about. So there are a few games that I played in the few years past that I would say are kind of the inspiration for Glyph as far as the mechanics go. One in particular was Roll for the Galaxy. That was one that I purchased. It really intrigued me because it was a dice manipulation game. Like you mentioned earlier, dice generally don't like me too much, but when I heard that there was a game where you could take the dice and you weren't, dictated exactly by what you rolled, but you can manipulate them and customize, your outcome based on what you rolled, that really got my interest. So I got that, loved it, and then another game that I got was Run, Fight, or Die, which kind of incorporated this idea of rolling combos. It was different than what I feel Yahtzee was, where you're just rolling dice a few times, but it was taking those dice and having different formulas of the dice would allow you to perform different things in the game. So those two main mechanics, I'm like, oh man, this is great. And like I said, I've always been kind of the strategy-minded one when it comes to gaming. And so I was thinking, just this idea, I don't know where it came from, that inspiration, just, lightning bolt strikes you and, you kind of go with it. But I'm like, what if it was like a combat game, but you're not just drawing a card and laying down a card, or you're not just rolling dice to see if you can roll sixes, but you're rolling these dice and you're trying to form these ability combos to perform different things. And then you can also take these dice, and based on the character that you have, you can manipulate them. So maybe you're trying to roll a specific rune or icon. Glyph makes use of its iconography to kind of help with the thematics instead of just pips. But you can roll these combos, and if there's a combo you didn't like, but you have this item that allows you to, flip a die to something that you want. It takes that luck out, but it allows for that satisfying feel of when you roll and land that combo. So I was trying to strike that balance between luck and that satisfaction of, getting that good roll that you're trying to go for.
All right, that's great. That's great. Now, tell us, just go in there and tell us about Glyph. How does it work? How many players, stuff like that?
Right. So one of the iterations of Glyph was initially it was designed to be a 2-player game, and it was one that you would each team or each player would choose 3 champions. These champions would have each their own unique stats, abilities, kind of their strengths and weaknesses, and the players would be able to then kind of pick and choose and kind of build their little 3-man squad of whichever characters they wanted, ones that could complement each other, ones that might not on the surface complement each other, but they want to try something else. I want to open up the field for as much customization as possible. And so that's where also the cards come in. So you'll have a champion. So let's say the priestess. She is an adherent champion, meaning she's kind of a support class champion. And so she may not have abilities on her player sheet that may deal a lot of damage. But what I've done with the game is incorporate a lot of item cards. So each character has its own inventory slots. You can purchase and equip items. And so you can take a priestess who may not on the surface be thought of as a aggressive offensive player or champion, but through the cards that you purchase, you can kind of customize and try different things. Some may work, some may not, but you may be able to find a strong weapon that gives her an additional ability. The items, some have their own sets of abilities. Some just give you extra dice or whatnot. So you could take this priestess and turn her into like this warrior priestess that can swing this giant axe around and cleave and deal a bunch of damage. To offset that, these cards or these items have costs associated with them. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was not only build up these giant pools of dice that you could choose from, have this whole spectrum of, I've got these red dice that are good at rolling a certain thing, or these blue dice that can roll, glyphs of power. But you take these dice, and again, opening up the options for players is, I want this axe, but it's going to cost me dice. I'm going to have to sacrifice, meaning I have to trash dice from my pool. So you kind of have to take your pool, grow it as best you can, but also know when to throw away dice in order to gain new abilities and new cards. So you may have a card that gives you 4 red dice. But I'm going to have to throw away 2 of my green dice, and those green dice may be good at defense. So I'm saying, okay, I'm sacrificing my defensive dice for more offensive dice. And so again, that gives the player that kind of that strategy on what they want to focus on. And so, so it's one of those things where you've got your base characters. Players will choose 3 each, and then you just kind of a slugfest. You take turns. You'll roll your dice. You'll perform actions. You can re-roll. You can manipulate. You can do different things, and then you'll last one standing is ultimately the winner. So that's kind of the basis of the game. Now, Glyph was actually on Kickstarter. It unfortunately didn't succeed on its first go-around. And some of the feedback I got were people were interested in incorporating more players. And I said, interesting. I had designed it as a 2-player game, but what if we could do more players? And so we did some more testing. tried it out, and basically came up with the solution that, if you play with multiple players, so a lot of times people have, their game groups with more than just two, and we decided to, okay, well, your team is still kind of a 1 versus 1, but instead of one player, it's now one team. So you can have up to 3 people with each person controlling their own champion, and then you kind of work together. Then it becomes kind of this semi-co-op where you have team battles instead of just a 1 versus versus 1. Yeah.
Okay. That's neat because, there's games out there that are like strictly 2-player, and then there are games that are multiplayer, but they really, really shine just 2-player, one-on-one. And anytime you get like take a 2-player game and add just more combatants in it, it turns into okay, let's gang up on this one person, get him out of the way, and we could beat up on each other next. It's neat that you have taken something that started out as a 2-player and made it more quality as a team. So it's not, at its very core, it's still player versus player, but there's more people involved, and it's more of a team effort.
Right, and you're exactly right. One of the concerns that I had when going this route was, well, I don't want it to be a game where you can have that 1 versus many and get ganged up on, and then since it is a game of player elimination, or champion elimination, I should say, without changing the gameplay too much, it just wasn't going to work as a free-for-all. You couldn't have, multiple players playing with their own sets of champions, and everybody would inevitably start ganging up, forming alliances. And there are some games that do that great. But this wasn't one that I was, trying to do that. I was trying to avoid kind of that 1 versus many mentality. So I decided to make it team play. That way you've got your focus, which is defeat your opponents on the other side of the table and not squabble amongst yourselves.
Because there's enough of games like that out there of ganging up on something, stuff like that.
Right.
And I know quite a few people that just revel in that style of gameplay.
Sure.
But that's really neat. Now how what were the challenges that you had as far as like tempering or balancing the different characters so that you had these multiple characters on one team, but so there was sort of like different parts of the whole body,
right?
But they worked. They just synergy was really smooth between all of them.
Right. So I think one of the main things that helped with that was dividing the champions into 3 classes. So you've got your strikers, which are kind of your main damage-dealing champions. You've got your guardians, which are kind of your defensive, more heavily armored. Their abilities are more defensive in nature. And then you have the adherents, like I mentioned with the priestess, which are kind of your supports that may provide healing abilities or provide buffs for your teammates or, curses or negative buffs for your opponents. And what really opened this up then was a matter of this player draft. When you're choosing your champions at the beginning, you choose 3 champions, but you have to choose 1 of each class. So you couldn't just choose 3 striker classes and just be the damage guy, and then your opponent's left with just 3 support class champions that they can't really defend themselves. So what's nice about that is it gives you this balance, and then it also turns it into this also strategy from the opponent's side is, okay, I've got my opponent here. He's got this striker class guy who can deal a lot of damage, but do I go for him first or do I go for his support guy first? Because that one's making his striker guy even stronger. And so it's kind of this back and forth, and you have to strategize on who to attack, when to attack them, and make the most of what you roll and use your abilities to, the best of your ability, and just kind of have that formula of what works and what doesn't work.
That's neat. It's neat to have all that plays together and contributes to the whole. So, all right. Now, for those of you just tuning in, yes, the Kickstarter is done. It's over. But how could people? Do you have like a late pledge or pre-order thing? But how could people get a hold of you to find out more about Kazoodoo Games and Glyph Game?
Absolutely. So you can visit our website, kazoodoo.com. From there, you can see links to our late pledge. We are currently using Pledge Manager as kind of our late pledge system. So you can click through there and get right where you need to sign in and make your pledge. You can also do it through the Kickstarter Glyph page as well. We have links to get you where you need to go. Also on our website, Kazoodoo, you can see kind of behind the scenes. I kind of keep a developer journal, so you can kind of see how the progression of Glyph has been over the past couple of years, if you're kind of into that thing. And then I also have a Kazoodoo Games Facebook page where we'll post and upload photos and latest artwork and whatnot, and answer questions that people may ask.
Excellent, and we'll have the links to those pages in the show notes for this episode. And now the game is slated to be released to the backers in February 2018. Now, do you have? Is there plans in place of getting those into retail stores shortly thereafter?
There's some potential for that. Working with a couple distribution channels at this point. If not through them, my goal is to be attending conventions this fall and next year to kind of get word out about the game. You'll also be able to get it directly through us on our website.
And again, that is the Kazoodoo Games Glyph. And if you're at any of the conventions, take a look around, and you might find Justin there and say hi and take a look at this game, because I think it's very interesting, and I think you just heard for the interview that the fascinating dynamics that's going on with taking a two-player game, making it into a team versus team game. Kind of reminds me of Captain Sonar.
Right. Which, Captain Sonar is probably one of my favorites at this time with my gaming group. We just love that dynamic where you've got a team that's with you against opposing teams. So you have kind of that common goal to work instead of it just being a one-person versus everybody else kind of game.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Justin. And we'll leave links to all those pages in the show notes, and check out Kazoodoo Games and Glyph. Thank you so much, Justin.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much for listening to the Mega Meeple. Again, please subscribe on iTunes and leave us a rating and 5 stars and all that kind of stuff. And if you'd like to support the podcast with hosting costs, you can go to our Patreon page and donate $1 or so. Every bit helps. Now, if you have any ideas of topics to be discussed or things to include in the show, please follow and reach out to me at any of our social media sites. The links can be found on the social media page on our website, themegameeple.com. And also, if you're a game designer or creator and would like to get the word out about your game or Kickstarter, you can contact me via the Contact Us page. Thank you so much, and until next week, this is Thom saying, game on.